The K-Files is brought to you by John Barnes Electric, your full-service electrical company, serving Rocky Mount and surrounding areas. Locally owned, locally recommended. Available 24/7. Call today for a free estimate. 442-7002. 442-7002.
With me this morning, guest co-host is Mayor Owen Strickland, also the GOP chairman for Nash County.
Good morning.
Alongside of me is Nash County Commissioner Freddie Howell. How's everybody?
Morning. How y'all doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Okay. A lot going on in Nash County, whether it be, we just had a murder right up the street from you, Brantley Road. We're going to be talking about that a little later on.
Search warrant was executed by county and by probation parole.
I saw Middlesex PD was like one of the first units on the scene. Yeah. And then I saw overnight last night they had Mac Todd Road, Zebulon. They had a shooting there. And all that ties into, some things that's going on here in Nash County, and that is, where do you put all these bad guys? Where do you, when you get these people in custody, they've got to have somewhere to be put to keep the community safe. Something we've been talking about now for a year or longer, and that is the Nash County Jail is full. It's beyond capacity. And when you make these arrests, law enforcement gets them off the street, they take them to the magistrate, there's nowhere to put them.
Exactly.
Any inroads on that?
If you got a few minutes,
let us know what's going on.
It's a deep topic. So I guess back up. So when I come on the board, there's two phases of the jail project that they've been working on. It's already done before I took office. Phase one was to renovate part of it. It was already under construction. Supposed to have been completed already, and it was not. My understanding is the county's perception was that a lot of this stuff was going to be grandfathered in because of the age of the jail and everything, and come to find out it wasn't. So that project went way over. We spent close to $20 million on phase one, and it was not supposed to be that much. And part of the problem is the jail facility is kind of like an old farmhouse. You start off and you just keep adding on as you have children, and you just keep building on, and it's spread out the best they can, being landlocked in the situation they got. And they made the best of what they got, but just simply terms, we've outgrown it. I know there's been a lot of controversy in the past over the jail, and at this point in time, all that's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
We're past that. They've completed the phase one renovation. The problem is the turnover. The way the facility's laid out, it's not like the new jails that you have, and I'll use Johnston County probably many times today in reference, but Johnston County, you have 2 towers, and you have individuals in those towers, and they can have visibility and can monitor the prisoners in the jail in a full facility, and it's not that way in Nash County's jail.
It's a modern design. It was designed as a jail from the very beginning, from the ground up.
And in Nash County, it's like a jail surrounded by a jail addition, surrounded by a jail addiction. It's just a logistical nightmare.
It is, and just so everybody knows, I know this is kind of sad to say, but they can have officers respond to a situation operation from outside the facility quicker in a lot of cases than they can if they're inside the jail, because it takes 8 minutes, and I've walked it, to get from one side of the facility to the other, because you have all the doors. It's got to be unlocked. And it takes time to unlock those and get through those secure measures.
Because the whole point behind the jail is keeping people in.
You know, my brother Jerry was explaining something to me the other day. He's like, JP, do you realize I believe he said, Johnston County, it takes just a fraction of deputies to work that jail than it does Nash County. Because of the jail design and the way it's been added onto over the years, they can man that jail, and it's what, 500 people, 600?
469 is the capacity of the New Johnston County Jail, and it takes, at full staff, I think they need 50 officers to run that facility.
Okay.
Nash County's facility, as it stands right now, can house 300, I think, and 23. No, I'm maybe off one or two, but it's like 323, and it's going to take over 70 officers to man it.
20 more.
And you have less inmates. And that's what was kind of explained originally this by one of the proposals about doing this from one of the architects, is that, in other words, the long-term cost of the jail is not the construction, it's of the operation.
Yeah.
And that's what they were trying
Because
to say.
that's 20 deputies that could be on the road answering calls for
Or
service, retired.
savings that you wouldn't need.
That's right. That's right, you wouldn't. Well, my question is this. Even though, and I understand that a decision has been made, thank God, to kind of tap the brakes and pause going forward with additional jail renovations, or is that true or not true?
So I guess back up on that. So yes, so that's where we're at now. So that was phase one. It's complete. We finally got it. I think it was in March, I believe, we got the final state approval to operate these dorms 4 and 5, which are still not operating because we don't have the staff. The problem is the sheriff in the last 12 months has had a 100% turnover rate in detention officers that he's hired. So we're going to have to look at something, and I've talked to the sheriff about it personally, about coming up with something creative. We just got to do something to address it outside of what we're doing.
And that was predicted to happen in this Kimball report, right? Was turnover.
Yeah.
You know. Now my thing is this. I saw in the newspaper, and this is all part of the Public Safety Committee or something like that.
Yes,
where
sir.
This is being discussed.
So when I came on the board, obviously there was a lot of EMS issues, still concerns with the sheriff's office and the capacity. So at the time, our chairman was Commissioner Wayne Outlaw, became the chairman, and when he did, he formed a new committee, Public Safety Committee.
And that was the right approach, I think. Now, I see in the newspaper where access has been denied to the public or to the media to attend these meetings. Can you elaborate on? I saw it in the paper. Is that something that you can elaborate on or not?
So I haven't seen the article yet, but
Okay.
I do know that the media did reach out, and I guess there's a difference of opinion. And this goes back to it's a changing culture that we need to do in Nash County, because, as I've said since day one,
Because you kind of ran on this.
well, we're here to serve Nash County. We are in the service business. If you work for the county as an employee, or you're an elected official for Nash County, you're in the service business to serve the citizens of Nash County.
Totally
That's
agree.
the whole existence of why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
And unlike a private business, the level of service you give determines the type of business you get. Well, with government business, you don't have that option because you are the only service. So you've got to provide that service and what the taxpayers expect and what their taxes go for. So there's a lack of transparency. There's been since I've come on the board. With the accounting stuff, with the budget amendments we do, with the monthly reporting, we're not clear in sharing that information with the public. I'm not saying the county's doing anything wrong, but the more transparent,
It's a perception thing,
the
though.
more
It's
transparent
perception.
you are, the less likely you have to have people question things. And it's the same thing with this public safety. We've got several other committees as well, but the chairman, I guess to answer your question directly, the chairman created this committee when I came on the board to help address some of the ES and the sheriff's concerns. And we've met several times trying to get the phase one of the jail complete, trying to address EMS. But I've had conversations with our county attorney, and we have a difference of opinion on this, and I base mine off what I've read from the School of Government and other resources that I've spoke with, but this should be a public body.
Yeah, based on what I read in the newspaper, the Associated Press's attorney is saying, hey, based on North Carolina General Statute, this should be an open meeting. The press should be allowed to attend. The public should be allowed to attend.
And there's been a lack of keeping minutes/notes for these meetings. And the whole thing is again, where I come in for this, and where it concerns me is, and I'll just use the latest one that come up. So we met last week for our budget meeting, Cushman meeting. We actually mounted an EMS station over in Mount Pleasant. And during the budget meeting, at the end, they come up and passed out a budget amendment and said, here you go. We want to pay off this loan for $4 million because it's going to save us $700,000 if we pay it off. And this is for the Shell buildings on 97 that we haven't sold yet. And I'm like, okay, but where's the prior notice? I mean, you're asking me to make a $4 million decision from taxpayers' money with no notification. That's not fair for the commissioner, any commissioner, regardless whether you afford it or not. But it doesn't specify that.
Okay.
So my thing is we need these notes and minutes from all these meetings that we're having, because we've got there's a capital projects committee, you've got a agriculture advisory committee, you've got the farmers market advisory. Those are all, in my opinion, public committees. The internet committee. And so to do your job, in my opinion, as a commissioner, you need to be made aware of these things before a piece of paper drops on your table and says, we need to vote on this in 5 minutes. So giving those notes and those minutes back to the commissioners, all the commissioners, gives them the opportunity to be aware and ask questions before a vote is slapped down on top of them to make that decision, especially when you're looking at spending, $4 million to pay off a Shell building that we've already got financed. Now, I get the benefit of saving $700, but we're already cutting the budget for what our staff needs this year. And back to the jail, I mean, we're going to need to do something with the jail.
That's a given. I mean, that's public safety.
What's happened in the past with the difference of opinion on commissioners, all that's water under the bridge. We can't go back and change what's taking place. But what we do need to do is we need to strategically plan for the future of Nash County. The county's growing.
Yep.
We're not going to stop the growth. I've said since day one, since I decided to get into politics, we need to be smart about the growth. And part of the thing about being smart is infrastructure. And unfortunately, we have a higher prison population compared to our general population than some of the other counties. I mean, we can't change that. It is what it is. And some people say, and even some of the other commissioners made comments about, well, you don't need to lock them up. Well, yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
If they're committing crimes, then they need to do the time. And
it needs to be a broad-based approach, but there at some point you need to pull the trigger and say, hey, okay, these folks need to be, X number of folks needs to be in a facility.
Well,
we've done all the other steps too, but we need to have space for them.
Two things that stick out to me that I've learned, and this isn't Natchez County's problem, this is a state problem, but we need more attention and more funding for mental health. Yeah. We've got a lot of individuals that are in our prison that have nowhere else to go, but if you put them back on the street, they're going to commit crimes. They need help, and there's a gap there. So that's number one, obviously a state issue that we need to look at, and I've mentioned that to our legislators to help what we can do to help address that. The second thing is some people like to say, well, I mean, it's the court system. They're dragging their feet, blah, 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 this, and it may be. But I can tell you that Nash County ranks 5th in the state at processing and getting them through the system. So it's not that Nash County is at the bottom of 100 counties and letting them sit there in jail and not go through the system and process them. So they're going through the court system pretty fast. If we're ranked number 5 in the state at processing these cases.
95 behind us.
So there you go.
So we're doing pretty good, I think, for a small county.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just need to we got to build for the future, and this is something that takes time. Johnston County's just went through this. They spent their public safety complex they built, which includes office space for the Sheriff's Department, EMS, 911, the call center. It's housed all in one building. They have their emergency command center there, and then they also built an evidence storage locker or building out behind it to store all the evidence in for court cases. And I think
Which has to be a specialized building too.
Yep, but it's I think it was 21 million is what they spent here. They just completed it here a couple years ago, and then they went behind that facility and they built a new jail that houses 469 inmates. And what they're doing is they've got that fully operational. They have space to add on to the evidence storage building. They have space to add on 2 more blocks on the jail as time grows. They've got additional office space in their public safety complex. In fact, I've been in their 911 call center, and half the room has got consoles. The other half is empty. And I asked why. They said, well, we can double our capacity and put the consoles on the other side of the room and double it and never have to build a new building. So there was foresight there to plan not just for today, but for 20 years down the line.
Is this something Nash County's looking at doing, or maybe modeling behind?
The sheriff has come in and said, hey, phase 2 of the jail, which was what was proposed to be done, was going to take 890 days to do. It was going to be at a proposed cost originally of $5 million. And it was going to further reduce the capacity of the jail by 20 to 30 more people. So even though we just gained like 23 to 25 slots, we were going to lose those slots and go back down to 300. Well, just so everybody knows, we were sitting at 360 inmates 2 days ago in Nash County.
Over capacity.
Over capacity. We've been over capacity as far as I can remember. Maybe not every day, maybe a day or two we drop below, but on average we're over. So.
And that's not counting the ones where we've got farmed out to other counties across the state.
Yeah, some of those 360 are out. About 20 to 30 of them go out. But the problem is other counties are running into the same situation.
I saw that with Wake on the news last night with Wake County.
Wake County's reached out to the sheriff and asked them, could we house some of their inmates?
And on average, how much is that costing us?
It goes anywhere from $65 to $100 a day per inmate. It just depends on where the jail is, and that cost does not include the transportation fees to get the inmate to the facility. And the other thing is if you get the inmate there and they misbehave, the jail has the right to pick up the phone and say, come get them. Yep. You got to go back and get them and find somewhere else to bring them back.
Because they're not going to risk their officers for somebody else.
And that deputy is not patrolling Nash County doing what he was hired to do.
Yeah.
And they're going all the way.
We've got a lot of them actually up in Cherokee.
Yeah.
That's where they have availability. So it's a serious situation that we need to go ahead and fix and get in place. So the sheriff stepped up and said, hey, time out. Let's stop spending money on this current jail. The sheriff's office was built 75 years ago. It's outdated. There's not even a handicap access to get up to the sheriff's office. It's not customer serving the way it's laid out. We're landlocked, and I don't know if you've ever been to the admin building over there or not, but you can't find parking over there now. Yeah. So we need to build a new public safety building and get everybody away. DSS, now that it's fully funded, is running out of space. They need more space. So the sheriff has come out and said, hey, don't do this phase 2 project. Take my $5 million and let's put it towards a new public safety facility, which will do a public safety complex, evidence storage, and a new jail down the line. Yeah. And let's find a location. Let's start investing in the future, not trying to redo the past.
Yeah.
You can like certainly, with $5 million, you can certainly get well down the road for, you might even be able to put up a wall or two. You're not going to be able to fund the whole facility, but you can certainly get it designed and get it to where you know what how it's going to phase. Get your engineering done to be certain. I mean, certainly that should be a plenty for that.
All right. Well, let's stop right here. Take a break. Pay some bills. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
The K-Files is brought to you by John Barnes Electric, your full-service electrical company, serving Rocky Mount and surrounding areas. Locally owned, locally recommended. Available 24/7. Call today for a free estimate. 442-7002. 442-7002.
And welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we've been talking about different things going on with the county, public safety, jail, things like that, funding. So let's kind of pick back up where we were at. So now, if I wanted to go to this public safety meeting that y'all are having, I mean, can I not? I mean, so what is the deal with the Nashville Graphics story? Talking about that it's they were denied access. Where does that stand?
So again, I haven't seen the article, but I have seen some communications from the National Graphic to the county, to the commissioners. It's been sent to me, and I'll be glad to answer any questions any of them's got. I mean, I'm fully transparent. I work for the government of Nash County, and I'm for the people, so I think we should be open about what we're doing unless it's something to do with personnel matters or either economic development, as far as sensitive stuff like that. But otherwise, it should be open and discussed. But again, the county attorney is saying that it's not a public meeting. I'm under the impression that the newspaper and their attorney is saying that it is a public meeting. And again, what I have read and what I have seen from the School of Government, I believe it to be a open body meeting as well, because you have 3 commissioners on it. You have the department heads of all the public safety there, and then you have other members of staff from the county there as well. And we're looking at discussing not individual personnel matters, but more so strategic planning for the future.
Now, my conspiracy theorist, okay? And this doesn't have anything to do with anybody by name. So with all the decisions that's been made over the years about the jail, okay, good, bad, or indifferent, I think a lot of them were bad decisions that were made, but I do understand that a lot of commissioners won't keep into decision making. They were misled, let me say that. So this is the committee discussions that this would be addressed, or where conversations about things that might have happened in the past would have been addressed. I can see why they would want this, closed to the public.
Well, and
from a conspiracy standpoint,
I don't know about that, but what I've been told from the department heads, they've not had very little involvement in the past on decisions being made about their department. And, they're stakeholders in this. I mean, they're the subject matter experts that do this day in and day out. So their input is invaluable as far as what we need to do. And of course, we're working on strategic plans. We haven't had a strategic plan that I have seen since I've been there. There's maybe one department that has a strategic plan, but the public safety now have all got a strategic plan. And just real quick to summarize that for you, our call center, 911 call center, we have 7 consoles, which is the desk that they operate from and take calls. Those consoles, we've got room to put 1 more.
And that's it.
And that room is full. Period. And there's nowhere to expand without taking away somebody else's space. There's already no parking at the admin building as it is. So you can't do that. And if you look at the growth, the Sheriff's Department and EMS calls are basically going to more than double in the next 9 years. So that tells me that 911 calls are going to double as well.
Well, the space is going to need to be twice as big.
Pretty much. So we're going to need space for, 14 to 18 consoles, but we don't have the space. So we're going to have to build a new facility for that. So
and everything there in Nashville's landlocked.
Yes.
I mean, it's not getting any bigger.
I have a question. And it sort of goes to, it goes to what we're talking about. You indicated that this public safety committee was created by former Chairman Outlaw. There was not one prior to, or was there one at some point, or do we know? Because when I was on City Council in High Point many, many moons ago, we had a standing public safety committee, and because I was appointed, I went directly in on that committee. I didn't get a committee choice. And it was a standing thing, and we addressed items of public safety in that committee.
Was it open to the public?
At that point, no, it wasn't. because it was, and because there was some of the same arguments that have been made by the county attorney. And I think the way I look at attorneys, an attorney's going to tell you, and this is my conspiracy theory on attorneys. If I'm paying an attorney, that attorney is going to regurgitate to some degree within the law
Your wishes.
what my wishes are. And I think the county has somewhat that same problem. Now, I don't know whether that's me being a conspiracy theorist, but was there a standing committee? Was there not? Do we know?
I don't.
We do know for a fact there is one now.
I know prior to me coming to the board, there was not a public safety committee at the time when I joined the Board of Commissioners in Nash County, because it was created by Wayne. There may have been a jail committee or something back when they were looking at doing the jail. But see, there's another thing
So
too.
to JP's point, if there was one, some of those things with the jail could have been vetted at that point.
And it would have saved Nash County taxpayers money.
I mean, you know.
Yes,
So-
yes, and that's the reason why. I mean, I think it's important as we're facing the growth that we are in Nash County. We need to keep this committee, because your public safety is one of your first priorities.
Certainly.
you got to, you got to be able to respond to 911. You've got to have EMS to respond, first responders, and you got to have the sheriff's department for law enforcement.
The little town of Bailey, I worry. I want to make sure that we have law enforcement. We don't do the fire department because it's volunteer. And and as I have said on this show more than once, I will put our volunteers up against nearly any paid. And that's a function of who's volunteering and who they work for full time. So
And
we
those-
are
those
incredibly
days are
lucky.
Those days are number 2 for volunteers. It's getting,
We couldn't afford it.
yeah.
We could not afford it. So public safety, to your point, is very vitally important.
So now,
So access is also important, and transparency is also important.
it needs to be, my opinion is, it needs to be open to the public. And by fighting tooth and nail to keep it closed, it sends a bad message to the public.
Why hide it?
That's exactly right.
I mean, and I'll tell you what it's already created. You've got some individuals, and I'm not going to name any names on here out of respect, just because we need to build unity
I
in the
agree.
county,
Yeah.
not
Yes, we
keep
do.
trying to tear
Yeah.
everything down.
Yeah.
We need to unite everybody, because the county's got to move forward, and the better we work together, the more we can accomplish. So, to me, party lines aside, do what's best for Nash County. But because it's not transparent, there's some misconceptions out there now. Oh, we're looking at trying to spend $100 million on this jail system, and this is going to bankrupt. We're going to be in the
I've
same
heard-
situation
I've
as
heard
Rocky
some.
Mount.
Yeah.
And that's not true. I mean, Rocky Mount just got through building a new public safety complex and an evidence storage. And just so the public's aware, our evidence is in the basement of our courthouse now, which is subject to flooding, and there's all
And
kinds
mold.
of...
And has flooded during
has.
your tenure, hasn't it?
I can't count on these fingers how many dehumidifiers are down there just to keep the moisture level down to where it's acceptable, and that's the evidence for our court cases.
Yeah.
So we need to get it out. So, but
And any good defense attorney will
That's
look at it and
exactly
say,
right.
you've got a problem, therefore my guy didn't do it.
and it's just time to upgrade and put a plan in for the future. So, the public safety building that was just completed in Johnston County was $21 million. That houses all the sheriff department, which they're out of space now as well. They're going to need more space for the future. That would house 911. It would give expansion for it in the future. It would house the fire team for Nash County, the fire marshal's office and all that. And it also give them a new central location for emergency command center where they can all work together in close proximity during emergencies. And the other thing is it saves the county money, because if you split this up, which was what some have suggested, if you do that, then these are public safety situations in departments, so they have to have backup generators and all that. Well, if you got them split, then you got to have a generator. That's additional cost. You put it all together, you got
it's
one
not a
generator.
small cost
Yeah.
either.
So it's all together makes sense. And this doesn't just benefit the public safety. What you do if you take and build a new complex outside of the jail, the current facility we're in, you free up all that space.
That's right.
Okay, and all the parking is being used by emergency services, and they're there 24/7. So you get those vehicles and that staff away from that building. You just created a lot of parking space without having to spend a bunch of money building a parking deck. Secondly, our DSS needs more office space.
Right across the
Okay,
hall.
there's been some conversations about putting them in the new church that we purchased for Park and Recs, which is going to split them up. Well, then we have security in the building primarily because of DHS and DSS. Because, you know, I don't care who you are, and you start talking about taking a kid away from you,
Yeah.
there's going to be
lot of
escalation.
tensions,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
start messing with somebody's family, they get angry in a hurry.
we dispatch 911 and have law enforcement come out to that admin building on average for the last 3 years, 50 times a year. So that's basically once a week.
When JP was in law enforcement, how many times did you say a domestic were you told a domestic violence case was the most dangerous case you had?
Absolutely. It's probably the #1 call for service
Hundreds.
with Nash County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, easily.
So if you move them, you got to hire more security. So if you keep them in the same building and take public safety to a new complex, then you just give the other departments more space without having to put them somewhere else. You save the county money. You're talking about spending $21 million. The sheriff has already committed to $5 million for phase 2 of the jail. Plus, he received, along with emergency services, $2.1 million in a grant to build a evidence storage / warehouse, and he's taking his share of that, which is half, $1 million. So we got $6 million here that our county legislators have been so gracious to appropriate to us to give us a start on that. And we didn't finish talking about the jail a while ago, but if we do phase 2 of the jail, it's 890 days, and I'm ballparking this, it might be a few less, a few more, 890 days to do this renovation. Well, you have to shut down the 2 dorms on either side of this dorm to do that renovation. Well, there's 50 inmates at normal capacity. Now, if you keep on at the current rate we're going, there's probably 60 in those dorms.
That's going to have to be farmed out.
So they're going to have to be sent to another place. Well, I just
Better
told
part
you
of
a while
3
ago.
years.
Yeah. Okay. So take 1,000 days times $65 or $75 a day. I mean, you're talking millions of dollars just not in the budget to do phase 2 of this contract.
And didn't you remind me? Didn't you say that the Johnston County facility came in under budget?
They did.
I think that's what you. I think I heard that.
So, you know, step 1 is to build a new public safety complex, in my opinion. And that's,
agree.
I've talked to the department heads, all the department heads in the county. We're in the public safety meeting, and we ask them one by one, do you want to be all together or y'all want to be separate? It was unanimous. Every single department head said, put us together. That way when there's an emergency, we can work together.
They're under the same roof. Yeah.
It saves the county funds by putting us together because we can utilize our resources and not have to have independent resources. So it's the smart thing to do.
And if you open up the Public Safety Committee to the general public, possibly, or specific public folks, you might get some buy-in from them to say, well, yeah, I might pay an extra extra cent on the 100 for my county taxes to do this.
Well, now, based on the numbers I've seen, I think Nash County's I think y'all are in excellent condition.
We had our
financially.
legislators. We had Lisa Barnes and Alan Chesser. They both came not to the last public safety meeting, but the one before. And we actually went and toured Johnston County facility and looked at that. We toured the Nash County facility. Senator Barnes actually toured Halifax because they're looking at putting the new jail up there, and looked at everything. And they agreed that we need to do something strategic, that we were at a critical point, and we needed to put something together that would address the future of Nash County. And that's what we're trying to do. Not just what I call throw a Band-Aid on it and keep, there's no need to keep wasting taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So we need to do that. It needs to be open to the public. You're looking at $21 million for a new public safety building, and then you're looking at around $41 million or $40 million for a new jail to house 459, and that's based, those numbers and figures are based on what Johnston County just completed. And they've been great to work with. They were involved from day one on the project. The sheriff, Steve Bizzle, was, and went through everything. And they've offered to help us any way they can. They've been great neighbors and partners in this. So, you know, there's not a reason for us to reinvent the wheel here. if it's already working and they're ahead of us as far as the growth goes,
And they are.
you know, they've tried to fix their mistakes, and so let's just learn from that instead of creating our own, and not, you know, have to pass that cost on to our taxpayers. So let's save them some money where we can. And the sheriff's not talking about this needs to be built this year. He knows that it's going to take time, but both of our legislators have said, get us a strategic plan. We'll see if there's funds out there to help you. But we've got to get a plan together first and provide it to them before they can step in and help us.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
sheriff has offered the money to help with the strategic plan.
So something else that's kind of public safety related, and it's been a red hot topic over the past few years, and that is EMS. Where do things stand on EMS issues with the county?
So it's kind of confusing when people ask questions on that. So, and just to clarify, EMS does it a little different than the sheriff's department, and there's either way is fine, but just to clarify the difference. So when EMS says we're short 10 people or we're short 5 people, that means they haven't hired them. So the sheriff's department, when they say they're short 5 people, they may have already hired them, but they're not complete training yet. They,
Gotcha.
They're not
Okay.
going to tell you they're hired until they complete the
On their
training
own.
and they're on their own. Whereas EMS says, okay, I filled it, but yet we're still riding along with other first responders. So even though I filled the gap and we fixed the problem, there's a 2-month to 3-month training period that they've got to ride along with others.
Okay.
And so that's what's happening. So we got, I think there's 5 or 6 out on medical leave or FMLA or workers' comp type deal situations, and that's just part of it. The other part is that we have got several people that we've had to hire, and they've hired them, but they're in training. So we're looking at 2 to 3 months before we can get those individuals to where they can be on schedule and staff by themselves. But I can tell you, we're getting 4 new ambulances this year.
Good.
We're getting 4 new ambulances next year, and we're getting 3 the following year. And just so the public understands, we currently don't operate but 10 ambulances on a given day fully staffed. So what I'm telling you is that within the next 3 years, we're going to fully replace all of our ambulances. And we're also looking at adding on a new station and putting on a new crew to go ahead and get them trained before we get that station built to assist out around the Rocky Mount area there at Station 800. So there's great things that's going on with the EMS, and we're doing things to address it and make it better. The problem is the county got behind.
Yeah.
We should have never been, we shouldn't be replacing all our vehicles this quick.
You need to do that
You
about
got to do it every year. It goes to
2
that
years, or
strategic
2 a
plan.
year, or
Yeah.
1 a year.
And you know, that's one of the things this year, and I'll put a plug in quick for the sheriff. I mean, the sheriff has roughly 100 vehicles based on the driving they do. They have to replace them about every 5 years. So if that's the case, I'm not a mathematician, I'm not a genius, but basically 20 a year would mean I stay in rotation. Well, he put in a request this year for 18 vehicles, which was within that 20 request.
Yep.
And so far, the budget proposed has cut those to 10. So, you know, and I look at this different than some of the others. We've been very blessed and fortunate in Ashe County from asset forfeiture funds in the past. And in the last 10 years, the sheriff has bought 77 vehicles with asset forfeiture funds, which, just so the taxpayers are aware,
They didn't buy them.
that cost you zero. In other words, we didn't pay for them as Nash County citizens. It was free. But we don't have asset forfeiture funds right now. So in this case, we need to step up, and to keep the vehicles in rotation, we need to buy those 18 vehicles. So why would we cut our sheriff's department 8 vehicles? Because now what's going to happen is it's going to be a deficit next year.
Yep.
And something that Commissioner Howell may not know is the sheriff is actually, I think, probably looking at other alternatives other than direct purchases. Because I went to an event, and there were 2 sheriffs, command staff sheriffs, from Nash County at that event, and it was put on by an organization that the town of Bailey just utilized to lease their first vehicle, you know, first new vehicle we've had in many moons. So the sheriff's not just going out and going to buy them. I don't think. I think he's actually going around looking at different options to possibly leases or things of that nature. But I don't know why they would have been there otherwise, because that was what the event was all about. So, that was, and that's something that the commissioner may not, he wasn't there, so I'm pretty sure he didn't know that they were there. I knew because I sat with them for lunch and I recognized them, but that was what that whole thing was for, is the option of leasing. I'm not going to tell you the name of the place because they didn't pay us to give them a commercial today. But I think he's looking at other options too.
Yeah. Well, just like any of us, I mean, anytime you go to make a purchase, just like me, I always weigh my options. Do I need to purchase it, lease it? I mean, what's the smartest option for me? And that's probably just something the sheriff was doing.
Certainly.
I don't really see how leasing, I can see it for Bailey, Middlesex, a small town. Mm-hmm. A sheriff's office is many miles as they roll.
Right.
Just like the highway patrol. I can't imagine the patrol looking at, as I know it, right, a lease option. Yeah. But again, you only know if you go and kind of,
weigh all your options.
That's right. That's due diligence by nature,
So that's, I feel like, I have bragged on our sheriff more than
we
once.
got the best sheriff there is in North Carolina.
He is the most active, thoughtful,
hands-on
person in that role that I've ever had the benefit of knowing.
Yeah. We definitely have, in my opinion, the best sheriff there is in North Carolina.
So just, to your point originally about the meeting, if it's open, then it would dispel all those rumors that we're trying to spend $100 million on a jail and this, because that's not the case at all.
Well, unfortunately, misinformation is politics.
It is.
People love to make political hay out of misinformation. And, sometimes you just have to, people call it mudslinging, but you got to call a spade a spade. You got to call it out. But it needs to be open government. Open government solves a lot of issues. It also takes power away from people who capitalize on misinformation.
And the days of doing things behind closed doors, to my mind, should be somewhat over.
Well, it's like you said earlier. if it's personnel related, something like that.
No, we're not going to sit there. We're not going to sit there and say we're going to fire Freddie because Freddie's not so and so.
Yeah, but my thing is, when it comes to spending Nash County taxpayer funds, I would almost want to be that commissioner that argues even more so why this needs to be open and transparent to the citizens.
Well, I'll share another one with you, and I've argued since day one that there's a Moonish report that comes out that shows by line item, by department, how much is spent month to date, how much is spent year to date. And I've advocated since day one that we need that report should be made public and put out there on the website and have access to it to the public. The public may not even be aware. Since in our March meeting, we had our auditor there. And in the March meeting, it was told to us that we had $37 million in our general fund unappropriated. Well, we've got an email prior to our last budget meeting we just had that said, hey, there's an error. I said, okay. We found $11 million. So now we have $48 million in our unappropriated general fund.
Just found $11 million.
Yeah, and I've asked the question, well, how do we lose it? And I was corrected real quickly and told we didn't lose that. We found it. I said, I understand that. But for you to find something, you had to lose it. So tell me who lost it and who found it and how we're going to prevent it from happening again.
Well, my argument would be if somebody with the county came to me and said, hey, we found $11 million. Okay, good. I'm glad you found it. How do you know there's not another $11 million?
Or how do you know you didn't lose 20?
That's exactly right.
So I'd be a whole lot more concerned about that 20.
But like the Munis report, if the city of Rocky Mount had taken that approach to be more transparent, people would have known about the impending financial situation of Rocky Mount, boom, until it happened, you'd have seen it coming. The average citizen
Well,
would
the
have had
citizens
access.
that would have looked at it would have been sitting up flares saying, hey, this don't make sense in pointing it out to you if it did get missed. And hey, we're all human. We all make mistakes. But the more eyes that are looking at it,
It's a
the
good
less
thing.
mistakes are going to happen. And the more transparent you are, the more credibility you have. And the more... We got silos created we need to break down in the county, and with our towns, and we're all on the same team here. We're all working together for the same thing, to service the citizens of Nash County.
Yeah.
Whether you're in Bailey, Nashville, Rocky Mount, we all should be working together for the same common goal.
That's right.
Yeah, and prior to this, us being here this morning, I notified he just happens to be my commissioner.
And mine.
And I said, listen, I have notified the board in Bailey of what our deficiencies were in EMS at Mount Pleasant, from April the 1st until now. Because in the spirit of transparency, my board needed to know that. Those commissioners, yes, they can hear the same thing out in the public, but if they hear it on an official document from the county, they know what I know, and that's not, I'm not hiding a thing, because I want them to understand this is where we are, this is where we were. We have worked on it. We continue to work on it. We will continue to work on it until it's fixed. But their constituents need those services. And they need to understand, they don't need to get it from Joe Schmuck down the street. Did you know so-and-so? And then they come to me and say, well, did you know? Well, yeah, I knew. Well, why didn't you tell me?
It's just like the jail talking about spending $90 million. That's misinformation.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
by being more transparent, you eliminate all that, and it cuts the divides
Takes the
down.
power away from people who like to capitalize on spreading lies.
Just be transparent with everyone.
That's right.
I mean, well, like I said, we're all in this together. Is the county perfect? No. Is Bailey perfect?
No.
No.
We
But
are a work in progress just like everywhere else.
Exactly. We should be working together for the same common goal, and that's to make the livelihoods of the citizens in Nash County better.
And I'm an advocate for pick the phone up and call your county commissioner, call your representative, call your be that person. I've always been that person. I would call somebody in a heartbeat, and I still will. I still would. Open government, transparency, that's what it's all about. Anything else? I know y'all have got the Sweet Potato Festival.
Sweet Potato Festival coming.
We've got another minute or two.
We've got the
Anything?
Sweet Potato Festival. Let me get that stuff out. On May, let's see here, May the 15th and 16th, we start on Friday night at 6 p.m. on Main Street in Bailey. Live music, food trucks, beer garden. That's the kickoff night. And this is the 5th anniversary. Something special's coming. We're working on it. I'm working on it the rest of this day, I hope. It may be something, I don't know, it may be something that's never happened in Nash County. I don't know, I'll have to do some research on that, but we're certainly going to do something special for the 5th anniversary. And then Saturday, May the 16th, starting at 9 a.m. Till 10 p.m. at night. Live music, craft vendors, car show, kids area, recipe contest, wing cook-off. You think you could, food trucks?
Oh, there'll be plenty of food trucks.
Is the ice
and more.
Is Howell Farm ice cream?
We
gonna be
will
there?
always participate, and that's those locals in Bailey love some sweet potato walnut ice cream.
Yes,
so we'll
sir.
make sure we have plenty of that on.
And
there.
I think I saw y'all are a friend or a bronze sponsor or something. I can't remember exactly what level.
We have
but-
sponsored as well.
Yeah, so we're
trying to give back.
We're working on it, and there's the logo, y'all. Isn't that cool?
Sweet Potato Festival. I didn't realize that was one word.
It is
until a
one
year-
word, and
a year or two
don't.
ago.
And if you say it wrong, they'll get you.
They sure will.
The Sweet Potato Commission will come. The North Carolina Sweet Potato Commission will come after you.
All right. Well, Owen, thank you for coming.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Howell, thank you for coming. For everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. We hope you learned something or found out something you didn't know. Other than that, have a safe week, be blessed, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Take care.
See y'all.
The K-Files is brought to you by John Barnes Electric, your full-service electrical company, serving Rocky Mount and surrounding areas. Locally owned, locally recommended. Available 24/7. Call today for a free estimate. 442-7002. 442-7002.